mcnews.com.au has been riding today with 2003 World Supersport champion Chris Vermeulen in southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. Chris is also, by the way, the only rider to ever to win a four-stroke Premier Class Grand Prix onboard a Suzuki. Is that still nobody else has done it?
No one else has done it, not yet. Well, there's no Suzukis out there at the moment, so I'm going to hold that one for a while.
We spoke with Chris this evening at the Crown Hotel in Urbenville and thought it would be a prime opportunity to discuss his new business ventures and what life is like as a 31-year-old retired motorcycle racer. How is it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. You know, when I was racing overseas and progressing through, you know, British Championship, Australian Championship, British Championship, Supersport, Superbike, MotoGP, I knew I'd retire at one point. I never knew when that'd be or what I'd do. Injury forced my retirement. You know, I had a bad knee injury. It's no secret. Most people know about it. And I decided to call it quits after that. It was quite a serious injury and it was a long time recovery. And basically I came back to Australia in that period and I'd lived overseas for 13 years and I just enjoyed my time back home. So I've moved back here. I do a little bit of business sort of work, I guess you could call it. I own a couple of commercial properties. I'm involved with a motorcycle dealership where we sell European bikes, BMW and Ducati being the main ones. And do the odd ride here and there for BMW. I've done a little bit of testing for BMW Suter in Europe, and just having fun and enjoying life after racing, I guess you could say.
I did hear on the grapevine that you'd been offered a testing role with the new Suzuki MotoGP fledgling effort, but you turned that down. Was that an easy decision to turn down, or was it something that took your fancy at all?
Well, it's not as though I turned it down, as I wanted to know what Suzuki are going to do for the future. And, you know, they're not guaranteed to come back racing in 2015. And I'd like to be involved, but I want to be involved with a project that is going to go forward and it's going to use my information, you know, to help the motorcycles. So it may still happen yet, but we'll wait and see what Suzuki are going to do.
Now, with motorcycle racing as a career firmly behind you, I presume you're now 100% focused on your new career, as you mentioned, director at Moto Life.
Yes.
Motorcycle dealership with stores on the Sunshine Coast and in Townsville, dealing in European marques, as you said, BMW, Ducati, Benelli, Bimota. How did that come about and what new challenges has this move presented you?
Well, it came about. I've got a very good friend that is quite a big car dealer on the Sunshine Coast, and he knew Dean Kurtz, who's my business partner in Motor Life, and Dean wanted to talk to me about, you know, expanding his business, and from him he wanted financial input as well as using a motorcycle, or my name, you know, to help racing, or from racing to help the business. So yeah, to help the business, from my point of view, I love being involved in motorbikes, you know, so the fit was good. It means and I don't pretend I can sell motorcycles. I don't pretend I know how to run a motorbike dealership or anything like that. I'm a non-active director, I guess you could say. I only go in there and chat to the mechanics and talk to the salesmen and find out what new bike's coming out and when I can ride it, really. So, and I do all the social rides with the shops and things like that. So it's kind of a fun sort of job for me, if that makes sense.
Are there any plans to open any more stores or take on any more brands in the near future?
No, you know, we're always talking in the motorcycle world and things happen and change, but no big decisions at this stage. I got involved with Motor Life at Caloundra, and we had the opportunity to open in Townsville, so we managed to secure a piece of land, build a building, and get 4 great brands up there. So that was that's enough to keep us busy at this stage.
I believe you're going to pull on the boots and ride in the Ballistic Scramble as part of Brisbane's Moto Expo next March. And you also enjoyed a venture back onto the flat track at the Bayless Scramble earlier this year.
Yep.
How much fun is that, and how hard do you boys still play when the mist descends?
It was heaps of fun, to be honest. And Troy rang me and said, "Oh, do you want to do a dirt track race with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do a dirt track race. I haven't got a bike though." He goes, "It's all right, you can ride my Honda." I said, "Oh, cool." And then he rang me and said, "Oh, McCoy and Crumpy are in. Can you ride a Suzuki?" I went, "Yeah, I can ride anything. I'm not tied to anyone." And then he rang me back and he said, "Oh, I've got this meeting planned. Now we've got 24 of us. Can you ride a Yamaha?" "Yeah, I can ride a Yamaha, Troy." So, and it ended up that I did it. I worked with Serco, the local, the Yamaha 250 motocross team, and they built me a great 450. Gavin Eels and the guys there, and it was great fun. But I never tested the bike before the race because Troy said, "It's going to be a bit of fun and we're just going to do the shootout." But when we got there, it was serious. There was guys laughing, people having quick shifters on them, and there were some fast motorbikes, and no, I really had a good time. It was great to line up on the grid with people like Stephen Gall, Jason Crump, Gary McCoy, and current riders, young guys that really want to prove something, like Josh Hook and Josh Brooks and people like that are still racing, so they really had the edge as well. But no, it was good fun, and I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to do the one at the R&A Showgrounds. I don't know the exact format Troy's talking there, but it's obviously going to be a lot looser dirt, so it's more speedway style.
Yep.
And then we've got the Bayless Classic. And I'm going to be doing the Kings of Nepean with Bayless and McCoy next weekend. So so I'm going to be doing a few dirt bike races. I don't pretend that I'm going to be racing at the front, but I go out there and have some fun anyway. So.
Beauty. All right, perhaps now we just throw a few random questions your way, Chris, to allow the readers to gain some more insight into what makes you tick.
Yep.
You married your long-term partner, Tony, in 2011. Are there kids on the horizon? Or
There are kids on the horizon. Tony's pregnant at the moment and due the first week of November. So I'll have real responsibility then, I guess you could say.
Oh, that'll be another exciting
Very
new
excited.
venture.
Yep.
What bikes do you personally own as of now, and what sort of lineup do you have in the shed at home?
I've got a few bikes. I've got two KLX 140s, small bikes. I've got two RM 252 strokes. I've got my YZ 450 dirt track bike that Serco built. I've got a 2002 Gas Trials bike. I've got a 2010 290 Beta Trials bike. I've got an F800 GS BMW that I just purchased. And I've got an 1982 Harley Davidson shovel engine that I put a side shift and Springer front end in it. It looks like it's out of World War II. So a few bikes in the shed.
Which one would you never sell?
Which one would I never sell? I don't think I'd ever sell the KLX 140s. They're the smallest and the cheapest bike I've got, but the one I spend the most time on and have the most fun on.
I believe we share an interest in classic cars. I remember you did a pickup some time ago. Do you still own that? And what other four-wheel toys do you currently enjoy?
I do, and that pickup was a 54 Ford F100. And my dad finished that for my 21st birthday, so I helped work on it. So it's been on the road for 10 years now. We put independent front suspension in it, a fuel-injected 5-litre V8, 4-speed manual, 4-wheel disc brake, power steering, and that's what I actually use as my everyday car. So my wife's got a normal car, and I use that, so very impractical, but good fun. I'm actually looking at repowering it at the moment and changing the motor, but I've got a 1928 Hupmobile that we hot rodded, and it was a 4-door sedan. We made a 2-door 4-seater hot rod with a 400 horsepower Mopar. I've got a 33 Ford Coupe.
Mopar, now you're talking.
Yes. Yeah. All these hot rodders put Chev motors in everything, so we want to do something different. I've got a 33 Ford Coupe. That's got a Chev motor, unfortunately, but it's pretty quick. I just sold a 1957 Buick that I had. And I just brought a car back from England. It's not an old car, but it's a 2008 Morgan Aeromax. Okay. They only made 100 of them, and I bought it and had it in the UK. And when I moved back to Australia, I brought that with me.
Is that a three-wheeler, John?
No, it's a four-wheel car. Actually, believe it or not, I bought the car off Richard Hammond. He had it because they only made 100. I tried to buy one of the original 100 and couldn't get on the list. It was number 186 or something. And that was the first second-hand one that came up, so I jumped at it and love it. I've only done, when I bought it off Richard, it was 3 years old and had 3,000 miles, and now I've had it for 2.5 years and it's got 5,000 miles. So I don't drive it much, but it's a cool car.
What was the most enjoyable race bike you ever rode?
This one, I always say the same thing, was in 2005 when I replaced Troy Ballas when he broke his wrist on the Camel Honda. I did Phillip Island and the Turkey GPs, and it blew my mind. I was racing World Superbike at the time, and I won 4 of the last 6 World Superbike races that year, and I got on a 990 Honda at Phillip Island, and I could not believe how fast they were, how much grip they generated, and what they could do.
I spoke to you that first evening that you rode the bike, and I remember you telling me that after you clicked 6 at wheel stood again down the end of the straight, and you were struggling to get far enough over the tank.
Oh, I had to use the rear brake down the main straight at Phillip Island, and it just blew my mind. I thought World Superbikes were quick, and they are quick, and they're getting quicker all the time, but to get onto that thing, it just blew my mind. And my crew chief at the time said, "Oh, you're using full power in 4th gear over the last turn." I went, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, we'll just give you more power then." So I was like, it was the first time I worked with electronics, and fabulous machine on Honda factory shell suspension with right engineers, Michelin tyres. It was a dream come true to ride something like that.
And what was the scariest race bike you ever sampled? I know you did. I know the 10-carter blade was a bit of a handful when you first got on it because there was no steering damper or anything on it when you first got on it.
There was a lot of things, and we called it the Yellow Submarine because it was this big thing. The duct tape held the fairings together. We did reasonably well on it, so that was scary. I guess the scariest position I was in when I replaced Colin Edwards at the French GP last year, Le Mans, when that bike was very undeveloped, and I went out in the rain. It'd never been ridden in the rain before.
That was the Suda
BMW. And it was just new electronics and getting software sorted. And it sounds like an easy thing to fix, but when you've got that many engineers and they can't solve it. But when I was braking on the back straight at Le Mans, the throttle was opening. So you're doing 250, 260 kilometers an hour trying to slow down for a second gear corner, and the thing wants to accelerate. So that was quite difficult to race and do 30 odd laps around Le Mans with. But
sounds as though it was a battle just to survive.
It was.
Now, who behind the scenes during your time in various race teams do you still hold the most respect for?
Behind the scenes, I've got to say my crew chief at Suzuki, Tom O'Kane. One of the most clever people I've ever spent time with. Too intelligent for his own good sometimes, but as an engineer goes, incredible guy, and I really have a lot of respect for him. And the riders he worked with before me go to show, and Tom never goes into the spotlight. He doesn't want to. He does his job and he goes home. And he was the first guy to put data on a motorcycle when he worked with Wayne Rainey under Kenny Roberts, and then he went to Kenny KR team. He won races with Kenny Jr. at Suzuki. He's just an incredible guy and so much experience, and very underrated engineer.
Now let's get into the dirty stuff. Who was the biggest villain you dealt with during your years at the track?
Oh, biggest villain I dealt with. I seem to have a lot of run-ins with Randy DePunier. I wouldn't call him a villain, but we always seem to be around each other on the track, and I used to think he was a crazy Frenchman. He probably thought I was a crazy Aussie, but yeah, he ran into me a couple of times and did different things, but we got on well.
And what about behind the scenes at the track?
Behind the scenes, villains. There's a lot of them around. Difficult to say. I've got to say Valentino Rossi gets his own way in whatever he wants behind the scenes to make it go that way, but he is the star.
Yeah, he can do whatever he likes.
Yes.
Your favourite teammate?
Favourite teammate, I've got to say I had a really good time. Well, I had a few of them. Carl Muggeridge and John Hopkins, I say if I had to pick two.
And the teammate you least got along with?
Teammate I least got along with, probably at the time Brock Parks, but we're really good friends now. So.
Yeah, right. Worst professional decision you ever made?
One decision that I don't regret, but probably the worst decision. Yamaha wanted to employ me to ride their Tech 3 bike at the end of 2007, just after I came off 4 podiums on the Suzuki in a row, and I decided to stay with Suzuki because I thought we were going in the right direction. And Tech 3 were on Dunlop tyres, on their Yamaha at that time, so they hadn't really done much, and they were going to Michelin the next year. But that would have been a good decision to make. But I stayed with Suzuki. I don't regret it, but things might have been different if I went there.
Your favourite European circuit?
Favourite European circuit? I would have to say Le Mans because I won there.
Your favourite European city or place?
I lived in Andorra, which is the border of France and Spain, and loved it there. And city, Barcelona.
And your favourite European restaurant?
Favourite European restaurant? There's a little restaurant very close to where I used to live in Andorra called Molly del Fanals, and it was a meat restaurant, Spanish meat style, and we used to go there when we went there. And
where's your favourite place to eat near at home?
Favourite place to eat at home? At home, I guess. We travelled so much.
After 13 or 14 years, exactly.
Yeah, and if you, it's a jet set lifestyle. It sounds great, but when you're eating in hospitality and restaurants all the time, it's nice to go home and have sort of normal food.
I understand completely. What's your favourite tunes?
Favourite tunes? I'm kind of into heavy rock, so I listen to older stuff really, but Metallica, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, Kid Rock, things like that.
If you never went professional motorcycle racing, what other career do you reckon you'd have had?
Believe it or not, when I was a young fella at school, I wanted to be an accountant. And once I started racing...
Muggers. Oh, Muggers is a jeweller. Sorry, Pity was the accountant.
Pity's an accountant. But once I started racing, I wanted to be a sports scientist once I started into the physical side. But Carl Muggeridge is a watchmaker.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Chris. I wish you all the best with Moto Life and look forward to riding with you again tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.